Luke 7. May God bless the reading of His Word. After He had finished speaking to the people, Jesus entered into the city of Capernaum. A centurion's servant who was dear to him was sick and at the point of death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and save his servant. When they came to Jesus, they begged him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy for you to do this for him, for he loves our nation, and he built our synagogue for us." Jesus went with them. When he was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying to him, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I am not worthy for you to come under my roof. I didn't even think of myself as worthy to come to you. But just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, and I have soldiers under my authority. I tell this one, go, and he goes. I say to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard these things, he was amazed at him, and turned and said to the large crowd who followed him, "I tell you, I have not found such great faith in all of Israel." Then those who were sent returned to the house and found the servant who had been sick was now well. Soon afterwards, Jesus went to a city called Nain. Many of his disciples, along with a large crowd, went with him. Now when he came near the gate of the city, a person that was dead was carried out. He was the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. Many of the people of the city were with her. When the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and said to her, "Don't cry." He came near and touched the coffin, and those carrying it stood still. Jesus said, "Young man, I tell you, arise." And the one who was dead sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Fear took hold of the people, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has arisen among us, and God has visited his people." This report went out concerning him in all of Judea and in all the surrounding region. The disciples of John told John about all these things. John called 2 of his disciples and sent them to Jesus to ask, "Are you the one who is coming, or should we look for another?" When the men had come to Jesus, they said, "John the Baptizer has sent us to you to ask, 'Are you the one who comes, or should we look for another?'" At this time Jesus was curing many people of their diseases, plagues, and evil spirits, and to many who were blind he gave sight. Jesus answered them, saying, "Go and tell John the things which you have seen and heard, that the blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, and the poor have the good news preached to them. Blessed is he who finds no occasion for stumbling in me." When John's messengers had left, Jesus began to tell the crowds about John, asking, "What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed blown by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man in nice clothing? Those who are gorgeously dressed and live delicately are in king's courts. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and much more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, 'Behold, I send my messenger before you, who will prepare the way before you.' For I tell you, among all those who are born, there is not a greater prophet than John the Baptizer. Yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." When all the people and the tax collectors heard this, they declared God to be just, having been baptized with John's baptism. But the Pharisees and the lawyers rejected the wisdom of God, not being baptized by him themselves. "To what then should I compare the people of this generation? What are they like? They are like children who sit in the market and call to one another, saying, 'We played music for you, and you didn't dance. We mourned, and you didn't weep.' For John the Baptizer came, neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and you say, 'He has a demon.' The Son of Man has come, eating and drinking, and you say, 'Look, he's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.' Wisdom is justified by all her children." One of the Pharisees invited Jesus to eat with him. He entered into the Pharisee's house and sat at the table. A woman in the city, who was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus was reclining in the Pharisee's house, brought an expensive jar of ointment. Standing behind at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears, and she wiped them with the hair of her head. She kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. Now, when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "This man, if he were a prophet, would know who and what kind of woman this is who touches him, that she is a sinner." Jesus answered him, "Simon, I have something to tell you." He said, "Teacher, say it." "A certain lender had 2 debtors. The one owed $500 and the other 50. When they couldn't pay, he forgave them both. Which of them, therefore, will love him the most?" Simon answered, "I suppose the one who owed the most." He said to him, "You have judged correctly." Turning to the woman, he said, "Do you see this woman? I entered into this house, and you gave me no water to wash my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair of her head. You gave me no kiss, but since the time I came in, she has not stopped kissing my feet. You didn't anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore, I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But one to whom little is forgiven loves little." He said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." Those who sat at the table with him began to say to themselves, "Who is this who even forgives sins?" He said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace."